showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
All right. Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is your weekend box office report and what is to come. I also have a little bit of news. Right now, first off, I want to say if you like and watching this content, please subscribe if you haven't done so. It would be relatively appreciated. We got a lot. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. My review of the number one movie this week, which I'm still in the process of processing. Not so much talking about it, but I may talk myself into one way or the other on this one. I've read reviews on it and so on. I'll get to all that very shortly. And then I got the Comic-Con one coming up because Comic-Con is less than, I think it's 3 weeks away now. So, or the first one anyway. So I got to get this thing done. And then I've seen a lot of movies this past couple weeks, and I got to drop some, including one that I'm going to do on this show at the very end called Drop. Okay, let's get to the box office report. So we're going to start at number 5, and again, the kids' movies staying pretty strong. So Elio stays in the top 5. It dropped one spot to 4 at 3.9 million. How to Train Your Dragon goes from 3 to 4 at 7.8. F1 staying pretty strong as well, from 2 to 3, 13 million. Last week's number 1, Jurassic World, which, if you saw my episode on that, I think that's a good jumping off point for it to die off. We do not need to see any more dinosaur movies from Jurassic World. Just my opinion. And it wasn't that bad. It's got to come to an end at some point. But that made $40 million. So it's still making money, but it's still not enough to reel in another movie or two. That's just my opinion. And finally, number 1, of course, we all know what the number 1 movie is. It is Superman at $122 million at the box office. So, successful opening weekend for Superman. Now, is it a good movie? You'll have to find out my take on this. Does DC have a pulse? As you know, I'm a Marvel fan and not a DC fan, and have been on the horse that DC is not viable anymore. Maybe, just maybe, it might be. I don't know. I'm still, as I said, still processing what I saw and what I think is to come for the DCU as we know it, or what we're going to know of it, as I've seen and read some stuff, but that will be in my Superman one coming up very shortly. I will say, though, that Superman, with its victory at the box office, outdid the last 4 DC old universe, so the DCEU, as James Gunn is calling it, the last 4 movies. Let's go over those last 4 movies and let's see why. Shazam, $58 million. The last one, Fury of the Gods. God, why? Why was this even made? And then, like I said, at the end, it looked like DC already knew they were on their way out. They put out Blue Beetle, $72 million. Then they put out The Flash at 108 million. That one was kind of interesting because they brought back Michael Keaton as Batman. It still could not draw because I think people at that point were like, Marvel's doing this already with the multiverse. We're kind of burnt out from it, and now you're bringing back Michael Keaton. Whereas it's a fascinating um, thing to do, it's not going to work. And finally, of course, Aquaman, which was literally thrown in right as James Gunn, I think, took over at 124 million. Now, there will be an Aquaman in James Gunn's DCU at some point, but it will not be played by Jason Momoa. He has been lobbying to play Lobo, which has been, uh, I guess, a dream of his to do. And again, I'm going to talk about all of this in the Superman one, so definitely check that out when I drop it either tomorrow or the next day. So, but fascinating that the DCU, as now conversed, started out that hot for numbers. But is it a good start, or did it just make a whole lot of money? You'll have to find out. I'm going to keep teasing this until you watch it. All right. So let's look at the box office coming up this weekend. Some interesting movies. I'm not going to go into one of them, or maybe I will. I'm not sure how I want to do this, but actually, two of them, actually. So let's look at some of the small stuff that is coming out first. We have The Cloud. It is a Japanese movie. This one is based on a man who is very successful, but as his world starts to fall apart, he is embroiled in a lot of chicanery, I guess, to get his life back. So there is that one. Also coming out is Guns Up. This is a very interesting looking movie. We've got Kevin James as Ray. We have Christina Ricci and C.J. Perry. Now, C.J. Perry is actually a former wrestler, and she is in this movie. So I kind of thought it would be interesting to talk about this. So Ray, an ex-cop and a family man, leads a dangerous double life, as he is also a mob henchman. So he's a cop and a mob henchman. Kind of a weird idea, I guess, at this point. When both worlds are on the brink of utter collapse and his life is pretty much on the line, he has one night to get out of the city. So the trailer looks pretty interesting for this. So I'm wondering how this will do. Kevin James as a good guy and a bad guy in this. He's not playing two characters, but there is that whole thing. So seems pretty interesting. I mean, we all know Kevin James as a comedian, so there is probably going to be some, one-liners or whatnot. But ultimately, he's somewhat of a bad guy as well. I mean, if he plays a mob henchman, he's probably a bad guy as well. And from the trailer, there is some give and take there, so there is that interesting dynamic. So then we also have a movie called The Banished. This it looks like Australian film, and this is about a woman after her brother mysteriously disappears. She ventures into a dangerous wilderness to find him. As she uncovers the horrific turn of events of his disappearance, um, she is thrown into the same darkness which had consumed him as well. So this looks very interesting, and I'll definitely probably catch it when it gets to video on demand. Let's talk about a few other ones. I don't really want to go over Smurfs. This is a musical animated film. This probably will make some money this weekend. It might even crack the top five. I'm not saying it's going to be good. There's a lot of voice actors, a lot of good actors doing the voices. So, I think the families who have been seeing these kids' movies will definitely go see this. So, it will throw the box office off for for a little bit. Um, does that mean that it's going to be good? Probably not, but I don't even want to talk about it. Another movie I'm not really thrilled about. Um, I Know What You Did Last Summer. We're rebooting this. We're basically retelling the story that happened years ago with Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, about high school kids on their way home, and they hit a guy. They think he's dead, and they're getting killed off one by one, basically to avenge his death. Same concept, just they brought back the two surviving kids, which is Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt, to help them figure out who may be killing them and how to stop them. Basically, I don't have any words for this. Again, Hollywood does what it wants, and I don't want to say this movie isn't going to make money, but I don't know how much money. Like I don't know. Is there really a call for this? Um, you know. Anyway, I'm just lost for words. But two movies that I'm interested in, at least. One is Santa Clare. This movie is going to be in limited release, but Bella Thorne, Ryan Phillippe, and Rebecca De Mornay. Haunted by mysterious voices, a solitary woman starts to kill people and get away with it. She soon gets sucked down a rabbit hole that's riddled with corruption, trafficking, and villains from the beyond. So it looks very interesting. Bella Thorne has been doing these kind of like weird horror movies, so I'll definitely try to check this out. I'm not sure where it's streaming, if it is right away, but I know it's going to be in limited release in the theaters. So I definitely will check it out. And finally, the big one that I feel is going to be big, but may not make a lot of money this weekend, may kind of go by the radar. Uh, Eddington. This was one of the ones that I wanted to see this month, so I will definitely get to see it. This movie stars Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Joaquin Phoenix, Austin Butler, a laundry list of good actors in this movie. So this should be up in the top five by the end of the weekend. But again, hard to know. This trailer is very gritty. During COVID, to a standoff between a small town sheriff and a mayor sparks a powder keg as it pits neighbor versus neighbor. So, but quite the star power in this one. The reviews have been really good on it. The trailer looks amazing. Definitely would be my choice to be in the top five, but hard to know what's going to be in the top five this week. Because again, you had a strong showing on Superman. Now, there has been, of the many different reviews on Superman. Um, Read them with caution, I guess. You also had Jurassic World in there. F1 is still pretty popular. How to Train Your Dragon has been, Elio's still up there. So it's hard to know what's going to be in the top 5 this week or where they're going to fit. Will Superman survive? Probably until the following week. And speaking of that, so we have Pedro Pascal in a movie this coming weekend. And of course, next weekend is the big one for him, the Fantastic Four. So, back to back Pedro Pascal movies. This happened earlier on in the year with Pedro. He did 2 movies, or they came out back to back weekends, and they were small budgeted films. So they did pretty well. So let's see what Pedro can pull off this time. I will say this, though, with Pedro Pascal and Walton Goggins, these 2 guys have been in so much stuff this year, like already. Like it's crazy because now, I think Pedro's been at least 5 movies this year, plus Last of Us season 2, until he was killed off, and then subsequently. But and if you haven't seen The Last of Us season 2 and you didn't see my review on it, well, then I just spoiled it for you. But it is what it is. And then you had Walton Goggins. He has been practically everywhere. He's been in at least 6 or 7 films. He's now doing Walmart commercials. This guy is everywhere. These 2 guys have definitely been the workhorses for Hollywood actors this year. So I look forward to maybe doing at the very end of the year a kind of brainstorm this a little bit. Who had the better year, Walter Goggins or Pedro Pascal? Right now it's a tie, but we'll figure out the tiebreaker stuff and everything else down the line. But those 2 have been everywhere, just everywhere. So there is your box office report for this weekend. So Eddington is definitely one that I will definitely see and we'll have a review of at some point down the line. But again, the box office has been kind of all over the place. Although you had your Dinosaurs #1 last week, and then Superman slips in behind it, and then normally there's a bigger movie. Eddington, I think, was slotted in between Superman and Fantastic Four as kind of a buffer, and I think it's going to get lost in the shuffle, and I wish it didn't. Kind of like Life of Chuck, which was hyped up. Mike Flanagan, going to do this movie and had star power galore, and it basically wasn't in theaters. Like, I was beside myself because it was one of the movies I've been looking forward to. So I'll definitely see it when it gets to video on demand, which it hasn't been yet, which I don't know what's going on with this film, but whatever. All right, so there's your box office report. And next week is going to be a very interesting box office report with Fantastic Four and Happy Gilmore 2 coming out next weekend. So look for that next Wednesday when the box office report is announced. All right. So my review of Drop. So the title, Drop, and I will get to the reason why it's called Drop. I didn't really care for this movie, and if you guys saw it and liked it, go ahead and comment as to why you saw it or liked it. The trailer looked kind of decent, and definitely wanted to see it, so I finally get to see it, and yeah, I just I have a lot of problems with this movie. So let's look at this. So you have a woman who has been a survivor of domestic abuse. She has a young son, and she is a now turned advocate for other abused women. So she is going on a date set up on one of these websites, and you know she's very nervous about it and so on. So she goes and meets the guy, but first she runs into a couple of people. Now this is where I'm already kind of like, okay, what is going to happen in this movie? So she bumps into a guy at at the bar. He knocks her phone down, and you think, okay, maybe he's going to switch the phone, whatever. I don't know. It was just weird because some of these people in here just seem very sketchy. She goes to the bar, meets, was waiting for her date. A man walks over, an older gentleman, glasses, kind of an older gentleman, uh, saying that he uh, mistaken her for his date because he is also having a first date that night. So they kind of commiserate for a few minutes, and then his date comes in and he goes to their table, and now she's all alone. But there are sketchy people kind of all around. So you kind of know from the preview what this is about. And so you want to see how it plays out. And it plays out very odd to me. So she winds up, going to sit down at the table. The waiter is supposedly very new. He seems not that new. He just seems very, very excited. They also have a piano player who's a little misogynistic, and and then the hostess is very sketchy herself. She's not very talkative to people, but she's also very cautious. It's weird. So the date starts. She gets a text message because she's been on her phone because she's worried about her sister watching her son. I get that. As a mom who as a parent, when you know your kids at home, young kids at home, and you're out, you kind of want to leave your phone on just in case something happens. I get that. So she gets just a couple random text messages from an unknown number. Of course, she winds up hitting yes to what is said on the text message, and this is where it unravels for me. So somehow somebody hacked her phone, has access to all the security cameras in the restaurant. Um, and again, there are people that are acting weird in this thing. So you're like, okay, obviously who is doing it, why they're doing it, and how do they have all this access? Are they doing it remotely? Are they doing it in the restaurant? And if they are doing it from the restaurant, how are they doing it? So, there's a lot of questions there. So it is basically threatening her that she needs to kill her date and do some other random tasks for this person. Now, the guy is, there, and the date's not going well because she's scared of what's going on. There's just a lot going on with her, and if I was the guy, I'd probably leave. But as the movie goes on, you start to realize that he has kind of a shadowy past as well. And the reason why he hasn't really left the date is because he's probably worried about something, which we come to find out that he is uh, working for the mayor, and there's been some allegations against the mayor and so on, and he's kind of a whistleblower at this point. So now you're starting to understand, okay, somebody wants him dead. So questions start to arise in my head. How did they know he was going on this date? How do they have access to the cameras in the restaurants, etc.? Like, it just didn't really work for me. And again, the date was going so badly, but I think the reason why he didn't leave was because he kind of feared maybe for his life, and he was kind of happy to be out in public with somebody else in case something happened. So eventually he gets a phone call. I'm skipping over a ton because I just want to get to the end of this. He gets a phone call, he goes to the bathroom. She realizes that there are two main people that may be involved in this in the restaurant, because she knows they're not working remotely, and two, they've got to be in there. So she walks over to one. He's not on his phone. He has his phone in his hand, but he's not on his phone. So is he working with that person, or was it a distraction? Well, it was, because the only other person that she thought could have been the person that was kind of blackmailing her at this point was the guy she met at the bar who had the date. Now, his date, however, didn't go as well either, because he was on his phone hacking systems. So we get this soliloquy between him and her where, he divulges the plot. We targeted you because we need him taken out because he's a material witness to a federal corruption thing. And we figured what way to do but on a date. And we have you on camera poisoning his drink. And so, yes, there is a point where she has or was given poison at the bar. So there is that whole thing. Now, we assumed she poisoned it because she had taken the cap off and then was supposed to do shots with him, but she never did. So he comes out of the bathroom and sees her talking to him, and she was like, "Oh no, he, we had met earlier, and and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, we've known each other for a long time. Um, she saw me, struggle with my date and wanted to know how it was going." So he walks back to his table and awaits her. Meanwhile, she's like, "Well, how did you know I spiked his drink?" And he was like, "Well, let's test that theory. Pick one of the shots." And he deals it up. They both take the shot. Nothing happens. And she's like, "Are you really sure I spiked his drink?" And he, at the time, was eating a dessert. Well, the bait and switch, she poisoned his food. And in a sheer panic, he pulls out a gun and starts shooting at the place. Again, this movie just runs right off the rails, kind of right away. Like it's a drop, basically. So the title of the film is Drop, but this is about e-dropping, not dropping from a skyscraper at the top. There is the one scene where the windows get shot out and our supposed killer gets pushed out the window, and then the woman is hanging off, you know, out the window by the tablecloth, which starts to slip when her date catches her. Now, he had taken a bullet for her, so he is not only a whistleblowing, uh, freelancer, but he is also a very good guy. So now, with all this going on, the person that um, was blackmailing her, he had sent a hitman to murder her son if she didn't do it. So now she takes her date's car and literally drives home in time to stop the man from killing her son. I got problems with this. So you're telling me all this time that the hitman and her in this building, she had all this time from the top of the building to go down to the garage, fly home, and stop him from doing it? It just leaves a lot of questions. It's like lazy writing. Lazy writing. So, but I did like the kill, I will say. So, what happened was the sister was shot in the shoulder instead of the head. Again, it was just kind of a weird ending. Like, if he was going to shoot her, why didn't he just kill her? I mean, he was going to kill the kid, so why not just kill the sister too? But the kid escapes, uh, and then when she gets home, she fights the gunman. The gun goes flying, and then right before he is about to stab her with a knife that she had, a 4x4 remote control truck comes with the gun in the back. Her son drove it over. She shoots the gunman, and that's how it ends. So that's probably the only good thing about this movie is how it ends. Other than the fact that she goes to the hospital to have a date with her date, and looks like they will continue to date. Meanwhile, the sister comes into the room with her arm in the sling and says to her, basically, bitch, why didn't you bring me food? And she turns around and says, well, do you want to get shot twice? And she was like, no, I guess not. I'll leave now. So again, little comic relief at the end, but I would definitely skip this movie. And if you've seen this movie and you actually liked it, let me know in the comments below. But other than that, I'm going to tell you to skip it. Probably a 1 thumbs down. So it's not totally unwatchable, but it's very far-fetched and very slow burning at times. But it has some elements in there that make it kind of intriguing, but it doesn't work around or work for me anyway. And again, I just give my reviews and my opinions on things. You guys can watch and like movies that I don't like, or don't like movies that I like. So it is what it is. I know with the next one, it'll cause probably some issues with some people. That will be my Superman review, because again, there's been a lot of give and take on this movie. So definitely check that out when it comes out, either tomorrow or on Friday, because as always, it's Wednesday. So, all right. Thank you all for listening and watching, and continue to like the shorts and continue to subscribe if you haven't. Like as well, comment. I know I've got some shares in there. You guys are great audience, and I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.